Softness is not weakness, it is strength guarded by wisdom and self control. In this video, we're going to talk about the beauty of gentleness in negotiation and how, when you're having conversation and communication with people, how calmness and gentleness and softness actually gives you an extra flair, right? So, gentleness is not a weakness, it actually is controlled power. And most times, it's always the calmest person in the room that controls the outcome. So we're getting this from Proverbs 15, verse 1. It says, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. Have you ever been in a situation where you're in a space where something happens and there's chaos in the place, and it's always the calmest person that always finds a way to resolve the situation? Well, I've been there, and I've learned that negotiation is communication and not domination. And I think that sometimes when people are negotiating or having conversations, they actually want to be tense and want to be harsh. But I want to show you that it is important to learn the art of being gentle. True negotiation is about being able to be soft about it and not just telling everybody that you know it, you don't know it. You want to be able to control your tone and be able to control the room by the way you speak and the way you communicate. So I'm going to give you 5 things that can help you in negotiating better, but also being a good communicator. The first is that I said negotiation is communication, and it does not dominate. It does not try to dominate the room. True negotiation is about understanding more than trying to dominate. It's not overpowering. You're not trying to push your decision on people. Actually, emotional intelligence often wins where aggression fails. I've been in spaces where I've seen people can't control their emotions. They're so agitated, and the person is saying something, and you want to respond. Before you respond, ask yourself, the way I respond to this person, does it affect my standards? Does it bring down my standards, or does it elevate it? If it does bring it down, then take a moment and ask yourself, should I really be responding to this or not? And if I'm too agitated to respond, should I excuse myself or not? So you need to be able to always speak in a very calm tone. We don't want to hear aggression in your tone. We don't want to hear overpowerment overpowerment in your tone. We don't hear dominance in your tone. You want to be able to speak loud, clear, passionately without being dominating. Okay? So I'm gonna give you 5 steps to communication. And I use this process a lot. A lot. And I've noticed that when you actually communicate this way, in a very soft and gentle way, it actually controls the room. The first is observe. When you want to have a communication with someone, the first thing you must do in communicating is observe them. Observe the things that are not speaking, the eyes, the body language, their hands, their mouths, the movement. You have to observe what is not speaking first. Then, when you observe how they're talking to you, second is listen. And I don't mean listen because you have a point. No, listen because you really truly want to hear what they're saying. Whether or not you agree with what they're saying, it doesn't matter. Take a moment to listen to them, right? Listen to what they're saying, articulate it, right? Listen. And then the third thing is pause. You do not need to respond to a question immediately is asked. I'll give you an example. Someone comes to you and asks you, do you think that diligence helps you build wealth? Now, let's say you don't even know what diligence means. This is how you react. Could you please elaborate on the meaning of diligence and what aspect you're talking about? And then the person expatiates and goes deeper and elaborates and say, okay, what I mean by diligence, I mean how you work, what you don't, how you do work, your discipline, your mindset, and all of that. And when they're done, you're like, okay. You see how I paused? Did you see how I paused? Always pause 5 seconds. And during that pausing, you're thinking of three things. What is the purpose of this conversation? What is the value I'm bringing? And how can they implement what I give them? If you're speaking to somebody and you're about to respond and you don't have these three things, then you need to wait until you have those three things in that pause before you actually answer. The purpose of this conversation or this question, right? When you have the purpose, the second thing is, what value is this going to bring to them? If I answer them, what value am I bringing to them? And the third, when you know the value, is what actionable step can I give them to be able to implement what I said? If your tips or your suggestion does not make somebody want to implement it, you got to take a moment. Now, if someone's just asking you what's your name and it's something you're good at, still pause for 5 seconds. You don't have to respond quickly, right? But whenever you're being asked a question, take a moment, pause 5 seconds, and then think. When you think, that will help you take a moment to actually articulate the question that has been asked, and then you respond. So the 5 stages are observe, listen, pause, think, and then respond. This will make you a very phenomenal communicator. I'm telling you, it will. Because wisdom lives in the pause. Sometimes, even when you're having a conversation and you want to gather your thoughts, you can do this. So I can be saying, well, I believe that diligence will help you build wealth, but I think that if you're able to apply it with wisdom, discipline, and consistency, it will help you build wealth that lasts for generations. You see how I just communicated? I spoke, but I paused. And then pausing with my hands forward shows that I'm not done talking. So in case someone wants to interrupt, and then I continued. That brings power in every conversational room you're at. Try this, guys. I'm telling you, even when you're having conversations with your family, it's powerful. It teaches you how to be in control of your emotions. You never want to respond from emotion. You want to respond from clarity. So don't just focus on responding because it's instant. Take a moment, observe, listen, pause, think, and then respond. These are the 5 steps in building good communication skills. And this will help you in any negotiation and even any conversation you're having with anybody. The third is softness is strength under control. And I know when we use the word softness, people think, oh, I'm in my soft era. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about gentleness in strength. Oh, strength wrapped in gentleness. I correct that. Strength wrapped in gentleness. So gentleness is power restrained by wisdom, right? It disarms the resistance and builds trust in high stake conversation. You don't want to be speaking with so much intensity when you're having a conversation with anybody, especially when you're negotiating. If I'm speaking with a tone that is calm, clear, and collective, someone will listen to me more than someone that's speaking with so much haste and so much aggression in your voice. The way you carry a conversation is by carrying it with gentleness and softness. That when you land your tones, the fluctuating of your tones, when you speak, when you ask questions, when you land a conversation, how to carry the conversation, it helps when you're able to speak with softness because you're wrapping strength under control. You're saying to the person, I know what I'm saying. I don't have to shout to speak to you. And I love those slow moments. It actually makes you speak with clarity. Softness in communication helps you speak with clarity. And people are able to understand you because you're taking your time to control your response. The fourth one is wisdom in speech expands influence. How you speak determines how far you go. And it's so true. We live in an era where communication is so important. You can no longer it's not like skills are not important. Skills are good, but if you're not good at communicating, you will never go far. I have, and I'll give an example. I remember the first time I started working in Canada for a firm. Before I got the opportunity, I actually had a good relationship with one of my professors at the college. And when I was building this relationship with my professor, we would talk. I told him I was in search for a job, that was in my field of engineering. And after a moment, he told me about an opportunity, and I said, "Well, I'm not qualified for this, right?" And I was going to say, "You know what? Just forget about it." But after speaking to my mom and speaking to some other mentors, I learned that there is a way you can communicate your experience that makes you seem like you have experience. And now it's not lying. It makes it seem like you have the experience, but you're using the experience of everyday life to answer those questions. And they needed 2 years experience in that field. I didn't have that. So what did I do? During the interview, before the interview, I researched about the company. I researched their values. I researched their culture. I researched what was their top best, their favorite assets, and I did research. Why? Because I didn't have experience, and because I wanted to communicate better. Why? Whenever you communicate with someone and you bring value to them, but it's all about them more than you, what you're doing is shifting the focus of self-absorbed to being focused on the person's need more than you. I showed them that I could bring value because I paid attention to what they liked. So when the CEO had the interview with me, I was able to say things about their product. Now, I hardly thought about my experience. They even hardly talked about my experience. I just told them I've done a bit of a course on this topic, and I have the skill set to be able to implement this, but I'm also a good learner. And even if I have experience, I also want to be integrated with the culture of this company. That's why. So I was able to shift the focus from me to them. And that helped me get the job because they were so amazed that I was not even talking about myself. I kept talking about their stuff, kept talking about the culture. Every response I had was involved with the culture. I showed them my willingness to learn, even though I had this. I have experience, I don't have experience. It doesn't matter. Every culture is different. Every workplace is different. I'm willing to implement so that I can develop myself, but also set up where I work for success. And that's what I did. So what am I saying is that sometimes experience is not even it. You can knowing how to communicate will take you far. So wisdom is speech. Wisdom in speech expands influence, especially in deals, investment, publishing, leadership. You need to be able to know how to speak to a person. When you make that person feel seen, heard, understood, that makes them feel like you're a safe person to communicate with. Seen, heard, understood. These three concepts in a conversation will continue to build your conversation, but also make you a good communicator. People fear what they cannot control, and it's true. Maintain your values under pressure. Non-reactive people control the room. When someone says something, how you respond, they're not reading your mouth, what you're saying. No, they're reading your face, your eyes, your ears, your body language. What are you doing? The person says something, don't respond quickly. Control that emotion, right? Try your best to control it. Because when people find out that they cannot understand, completely control you, you get power in that situation, especially in negotiation. Learn to maintain your values under pressure. Don't break your standards. If something is going to break your standards, stand by your standards. It shows that you're a person of integrity. You're not willing to compromise for your integrity. right? You have integrity, and that is very beautiful character and attitude to have in a negotiation. So when you're in the room, don't react too quickly. Control the room by being non-reactive. Stay neutral, listen, smile when needed, contribute when necessary, and you will see how this will help you. I'll give you 4 tips. Practice responding, not reacting. This will help you a lot in your conversation. Slow your speech in negotiation. Like I said, I can say to you, well, I know that this is what I want. And I can say, I know that this is something I am very interested in. Which one sounded more confident? The slower one or the faster one? I can say to you, well, negotiation is very good for communication. Oh, sorry, communication is very good for negotiation. You need to be very good at communicating so you can get the deals. Whenever you're in a negotiation room, I advise you to speak clearly. I advise you to speak with clarity and make sure that you communicate to them what you're trying to achieve, the purpose of your negotiation, the goal of your negotiation, the outcome of your negotiation. Make sure that when you communicate, you speak with clarity and in a soft tone. Which one is better? The one after, right? So you want to ensure that you slow your speech in negotiation and communication. Ask clarifying questions before asserting position. Don't just say, oh, well, this is what I want. This is it. No. Ask questions. Why do you want to work with us? What's the concept? What are your values? What do you gain from this collaboration? What do you want? Ask questions that will bring clarity and know how you can position yourself before you start telling people what you want. Never sacrifice values for approval. Never. In fact, that builds credibility much, much better. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I will see you guys later for more tips. Bye.